Interesting maps of Europe. Let's take a look. Android versus iPhone with iOS. Which mobile operating system is popular? We have Android basically dominating the whole landscape here. What team are you on? Have you had both? What do you like better? I've had both. I am on iOS. And yeah, I'm just kind of shocked to see. I thought this would be a little more half and half, but Android's pretty much dominating most of Europe, with the exception of like randomly the north here. And of course, what, Switzerland and Albania, I think? Yeah, they're just like, nope, we're going to be different. We're Team Android, no thank you. Road fatalities throughout Europe. Now, of course, this is not a fun stat, but it's interesting to see nonetheless. I know the roads can be pretty dangerous here throughout the U.S., so yeah, always be vigilant, always be careful. So basically, the lighter colors are, less road fatalities, and the darker reds are worse. Unfortunately, it seems like it's concentrated mostly in Eastern Europe, especially way down here, with Romania and Turkey holding the highest spots. And the lowest is actually all in the UK. So I didn't really know what to expect here, but very interesting. The UK, like, having the top 5 for the lowest fatalities. Does anyone want to weigh in any thoughts on why that is? I don't know if perhaps they have lower speed limits, more strict like laws and higher fines and license penalties for traffic things. I don't really know. Very interesting though. And randomly a high amount of fatalities in like southern Portugal. Again, maybe dangerous roads or mountains or something. I don't know. Otherwise, it's pretty just in the middle across the rest of the continent. So I guess I hate to say it, but be careful driving in Turkey or Portugal. Have your eyes on the road at all times. This is a look at air pollution throughout Europe. Northern Italy, looking a little bit polluted here, and Poland, holy smokes. Poland is like on the dark scale here. Wow. Again, these are always interesting to me, but then again, don't have any experience with Europe firsthand, so I wouldn't really know exactly why some of these things are the way they are. What explains this right here, and what explains Poland for the big time pollution. Now, of course, industry, big cities, I know that's definitely a big part of it. When you look at this on a map of the U.S., you see like a big pollution spikes around like Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles, right? And that makes sense because they're big cities and there's lots of pollution there. And then naturally your countryside, rural environments are going to be nice and clean. The comments are always pretty funny on these. As a Czech, I could say that it's just lovely living next to the Polish border. You can get cheap Polish food and get free lung cancer as a bonus. Someone in the comments actually has a theory for Northern Italy. It says Northern Italy has a huge disadvantage regarding to air quality. There is no circulation due to the 3 sides of that plain being surrounded by mountains. What's sickening is that in a country like Poland, basically flat on both its eastern and western sides, is just polluted due to the damn usage of coal power plants. Okay. Someone said this map is actually calculated from 2000 to 2019. And that Poland, has made great strides in the last few years in a bunch of different metrics. And it would not look nowhere near as bad as it would on this map. So that's good to hear that they're on the upswing, especially when it comes to a little bit of cleaner air, right? Can't argue with that. And here's one to rile some people up. Which country has the most attractive people, according to Europe? Basically, let's summarize the whole map. Italy and Spain. Italy and Spain dominating this just pretty much all across the board. With the exception of down here, actually in Spain and Portugal, they're a fan of South America. They're giving a shout out to Argentina and Brazil. So now this one isn't really about the map, more so the comments. It's pretty funny. This is the Americans' opinion on Europe. So I don't know how this was polled and how many people and blah, 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 but yeah, you knew it was going to be interesting. Fascinating even. Apparently, most Americans, are a big fan of most of Europe. For some reason, they're hating on Portugal. I don't know why. And then, a lot of microstates over here, especially Eastern Europe. Russia, yeah, no surprise that that's like in the red there. Yeah, I'm not really sure, like, how to interpret this. It's just kind of random, right? And the comments are funny. For example, the love of Italy is 100% driven by America's obsession with Italian food. Yeah, that's true. Americans as a whole, like everyone I've ever known, any background in the U.S. just loves Italian food. It's, yeah, we do. What can I say? I love this one. Not sure where the data for this came from. I'm sure if you asked the average American their opinion on Andorra, they would think you were talking about the Star Wars show. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, I feel pretty proud of myself. I know Andorra. I know exactly where it's at. Very small, right? And it's obviously between Spain and France. But I am fairly confident that many Americans, sorry to say, I'm assuming here, but I feel like many Americans would not know where it's at, or maybe wouldn't even know, like, it's a country. Maybe they've never heard of it. So Portugal one is funny. That one's coming up a lot. That one is definitely funny because all I see on like articles and magazines and stuff is like, I feel like really lately in this whole digital, working online age we're in, a lot of people work from home, that type of deal. I'm sure you've heard of like digital nomad culture, and it seems to be everywhere. You look on media, and yeah, I feel like I've seen a bunch of headlines saying that tons of Americans are moving to Portugal, that work online or nomad or whatever the hell's going on. So, yeah, I don't know how true this map is. Now, here's something interesting for me as an American, seeing like names in Europe. This is the most popular female baby names in Europe for 2023. And kind of just all over the place. Although Sophia seems to be really popular. Anyone want to weigh in on that? Is it just like a trend? I wonder if that's I wonder how popular that is here in the U.S. I haven't personally known many Sophias, just a few. But yeah, I mean, look at it. Look how many countries. Sophia. Like, it is everywhere. Olivia, Emily, Jade, Maria, these are all names that are fairly common here in the U.S. as well. And then, of course, a few that are not, right? Olga, haven't known many of them. Nora, Astrid. Yeah, those are going to be a lot more rare over here. So it's kind of cool to see some familiar ones, interesting to see the trends, and then some that definitely either I've never heard of or I've never known someone, with some of these names. This is usually what time dinner is eaten throughout Europe. Now, this I find interesting. This varies greatly everywhere, of course, and varies greatly in the U.S., so I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself. So in my family, my wife and I and our kids, we usually eat dinner pretty late, right? At least in my head, I feel like it's pretty late. So we usually eat dinner, I would say, between not even 7. I'd say like 7:30 to 9 p.m. in that range, which I feel like is pretty late. I think, I guess your stereotypical American dinner is usually at maybe like 5 to 6 p.m. In that range is more common. So we're a little bit on the later side. There's been many nights where we have dinner at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. So I guess on this map, we would be in line with Portugal and Spain because they have late dinners. This actually claims that 9:30 to 10:30 is common, the most common in Spain. That is just totally normal to be eating dinner hella late. And one of the easiest things we can see here is basically the southern states of Europe. They're the ones eating a little bit later. And then as you go north, it gets early. We're talking about, look it up here. In the far north, we're talking 4:30 to 5:30 or 4 to 5 p.m. That's really early, like to me. So interesting. I'm sure there's reasons for it that I'm not thinking of right now. Perhaps it has to do with, daylight and climate and things. I'm not really sure, maybe. But yeah, you can kind of easily see that trend as you go south. It gets later. And this is absolutely crazy, terrifying a little bit. So I don't know if you saw earlier in this, way in the summer, earlier in the year, it was June. We had extreme wildfire smoke for like 2 months in Illinois here in the U.S. and it was from the Canadian wildfires. And it was crazy. You just had haze. We had all these clear days, right? The Illinois days are usually very clear, no clouds, but you could see just this haze. It was really freaky, and the sun was like red. It was just weird and ominous. And I did not realize that this Canadian smoke actually reached Europe at one point. June 26th, the shot is from. You can see the coast of Portugal here. Look at that smoke all the way from over here, in Canada. I think that's actually mind-blowing. And there is the actual path. You can see, where it was burning, and it traveled all the way over there. That's just super weird. And those wildfires anywhere, they're just unfortunate. Like, no one wants to deal with that. And people saying, like, Portugal has had some really bad luck with the wildfires because they had their own, like, a year or two ago. And then, of course, they had to deal with wildfire smoke not even from their own, this year. Just kind of craziness. Another thing from this summer, the Barbenheimer, right? Barbie versus Oppenheimer. I actually have seen neither movie yet, so I guess I'm super late to the game. But, it was kind of divided, right? I saw plenty of polls here in the U.S. of, like, who was going to watch what, who liked what better. And that's what this is for Europe. Looks like Barbie takes the cake here in terms of pure numbers. But, yeah, Oppenheimer did have some wins, especially kind of just, like, right through the middle. Not really sure, to the extent of why, one or the other won. It's a little bit beyond my scope, but I thought this map was just funny to show. Like, holy crap, the difference in color, right? Bright pink and then black. This one, the visual here is very interesting compared to most maps. Now, this is something really cool. Of course, video games are popular worldwide, and it's one of those things I'm sure a lot of Americans play video games and just assume, like, a lot of video games are made here, when in reality, a lot of video games are developed worldwide, especially in Europe. There's a lot of famous titles that people play and maybe did not know was developed totally somewhere else. We have like the GTA series, right? The UK, very interesting. I did know that, but a lot of people, at one time probably did not know that. We have Castlevania down here in Spain. Like, I actually didn't know that. And then this list is just kind of easier, so I'll just show you this because the visuals can be kind of hard here, right? They blend together a little bit. And some of them are too small. You can't really tell what the title is. So, yeah, like Austria, Ori and the Blind Forest, Belarus, World of Tanks. I did not know that. Bulgaria, Tropico 5. Had no idea. Arma 2 was in Czechia. Again, I did not know that. Angry Birds, how famous has that franchise been, right? I had no idea that was from Finland. No idea. MotoGP in Italy, that's pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that some sort of motorsport game would be developed in Italy, right? I feel like that's fitting. Farming Simulator in Switzerland. Now, that one I'm very surprised by. I'm just going to say it. I assumed Farming Simulator was an American game. I did. So that one, I'm guilty of it. That one is very shocking to me and very fascinating to learn about. Now, I always love looking at these topography maps where you get these really defined, terrain, right? You see all the mountains and the valleys, and it's just really cool. And Europe has got some insane terrain, man, let me tell you. I mean, look how much of it is mountainous. It's actually kind of crazy, right? You have some states or countries just covered in mountains. It's really cool. I do find it interesting how things work, though. Like when you look at the coastline, right? Like right here, if you see my mouse, or right here, this northern coastline right here, it seems to be actually very flat. So that looks to me like almost all of the Netherlands somehow is like flat. But then once you go south of there, boom, turns mountainous. It's just kind of interesting how it all ends up working. Whereas the coastline down here in Spain and Portugal seem to be, pretty mountainous and hilly. And then just down here, right, we have the Alps. We have just mountain ranges galore down here. It gets crazy. Olive oil versus butter usage in Europe. Now, these are interesting to me because this is something I didn't realize that was so different, throughout the world. And yeah, like butter still, I guess, has the majority here. That is certainly, popular here in the U.S., so I resonate with that. Then you have a mixture of olive oil and butter, just kind of, right straight across like the south middle kind of area. Then as you go south, right? Spain, Portugal, Italy, we're going straight olive oil, right? And I thought that was very interesting. I don't know much about that. I'm kind of learning about that as we go. But, it's funny because they introduced like some, very specific Italy or Italian style coffee at Starbucks. I think it was this year at some point. And people thought it tasted really weird. I didn't personally ever try it. I don't really go there. But here in the U.S., they introduced some Italian special coffee you could order, and it had olive oil in it. And that's very different than most, if not all, of American style, coffee options. So that one raised a ruckus, and some people loved it, but most people I heard did not like it. So yeah, olive oil definitely I don't think is on the same level in the U.S. as it is in Southern Europe. And lastly, we're looking at road quality in Europe. Now this one's funny because this is very relevant in the U.S. as well. Some states, in my experience, have really good roads overall, and some states just have bad roads. Unfortunately, where I grew up and where I'm from, Illinois just has horrible roads, and it's kind of bad because we have like high road taxes, we have tolls. It's just a very high tax state. And somehow the roads are just so bad. Whereas all our neighboring states that have similar climates, their roads are nowhere near as bad. And they don't have tolls. So it's kind of embarrassing for Illinois. Like, what the heck is going on here? And naturally, throughout Europe, I'm sure your road quality can vary depending on which region, which country, and so forth. So Netherlands coming in with the highest. Now, that doesn't surprise me. I've learned a lot. Or I should say, whenever I learn about the Netherlands, it's always praised for like roads, for transportation, public transport, bicycles, even cars. Like, it's just noted as a great country to transport yourself in, right? So that's really interesting and quite frankly predictable to hear that they have great roads. They just must be awesome at infrastructure there, like simply put. And honestly, not surprising that they're ranked as having the best road quality. And then the lowest is just kind of be concentrated in the far east over here. Moldova actually taking the crown for the lowest or worst road quality. But yeah, I'm sure there's many factors in that, and I'm sure that take these with a grain of salt. I'm sure that there's certain areas that do have great roads in all these countries. I'm sure there's some really bad areas as well. Where do you like driving? If you're watching this from Europe and you've gotten to drive around Europe, where are some of your favorite places to drive, and where are some places where it's like, dude, I hate driving here. The roads are horrible. Would love to know in the comments. Yeah, and everyone in the comments here is just saying that they were amazed by the roads in the Netherlands. Really, really good. A lot of people saying France has pretty good roads as well. But like, for example, nearby Italy, Belgium, their roads were noticeably not as good. But hey, that's going to do it for this one. I haven't done like kind of interesting maps, Reddit videos, that type of thing. I haven't done that in a long, long time. I want to start doing more sprinkled in. So I do hope you enjoyed it. Can't wait to see your comments down below. But yeah, I thought this was pretty fun. Throw a like on there if you agree. And subscribe to be part of this amazing community we do have here. That's about it for this one, y'all. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. And until next time, I'll catch you later.